Greetings from the Alexandrina Council. Let's meet the driving force behind the Alexandrina community. Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald. Mayor, Keith Parks. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peter Oliver. West Ward, Councillor Bill Coomans. Councillor Lou Nicholson. Councillor Michael Scott. North Ward, Councillor Craig Maidment. Councillor Sue Miller. Councillor Christy Thornton. South Ward, Councillor Margaret Gardner. Councillor Millie Livingston. And finally, Councillor Peter Oliver.
Good evening. Welcome to our council meeting of Monday, the 18th of August 2025. An audio recording of the meeting will be made available for minute-taking purposes and will last the length of the open meeting. The audio file will be available on the council website after the draft minutes have been circulated. I'd like to welcome our council members. We have an apology from Councillor Gardner and Councillor Oliver. Also like to welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald, our General Manager Community, Stacey Bateson, General Manager Infrastructure, Alan Harvey, General Manager Corporate, Tash Hunt, and some other staff who are here as required. Would you all please stand for the acknowledgement of ownership and the local government prayer. The Alexandrina Council and its communities acknowledge the Narrandjeri, the Paramount and the Gardner people as the traditional custodians in the lands and waters of our council district. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to grant Thy blessing upon the works of this council. Guide us in our deliberations for the advancement and the true welfare of the people of this district. Thank you. This declarations of interest. If a council member has a conflict of interest for the purposes of Part 4, Division 1, Subdivision 4 of the Local Government Act of 1999, in a matter of which will be before the council this meeting, you're asked to disclose the interest to the council and provide full and accurate details of the relevant interest at the beginning of the meeting, and members are reminded they must also deal with the conflict of interest in accordance with the provisions of Subdivision 4 at the time the item arises for consideration. We have declarations two from Councillor Miller and one from Councillor Nicholson. Would you like to let us know what they are?
Thank you, Worship. I have a conflict of interest for item 9.1, West Creek Road proposed road closure. It's due to a related party providing contractual services to West Creek Partners, and as West Creek Partners may derive a benefit or loss subject to Council's decision tonight, I will leave the Chamber at consideration of this item so as not to participate in the debate or the vote. I've also advised of a conflict of interest for item 9.3, Council Strategic Partnerships, due to my employment and my employer being a party to Regional Development Australia, Adelaide Hills, Fleurieu and Kangaroo Island, the Resilient Hills and Coast Climate Change Sector Agreement and the Local Government Association of South Australia, and my employer may derive a benefit or loss subject to Council's decision tonight, and I will leave the Chamber at consideration of this item so as not to participate in the debate or the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. I wish to declare a conflict of interest at item 12.2, Marina Lease Agreement. This is due to being part owner of a vessel moored within the marina, and to manage the conflict, I'll leave the Chamber during consideration of the matter and not vote.
Are there any other? Councillor Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. I wish to declare a material conflict of interest for item 12.2 due to a related party, and I will leave the Chamber.
Councillor Coomans.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Parks. In relation to 4.2, the deputations, the one in particular is the development of the proposed Flying Fish Cafe in Port Elliot. I'm the deputy member of the Fleurieu Regional Assessment Panel, and possibly being active at the next meeting where this matter is being considered, I need to declare a material conflict of interest and think it's best if I leave the room at that time.
Any others? No. So we go to item 2, which is confirmation of the minutes, and we'll go through them one at a time. 2.1, is the ordinary council meeting minutes of the 21st of July 2025. Is there a move we received that, Councillor Nicholson? Second, Councillor Maidment. Any questions or discussion relating to the minutes? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 2.2 is the Heritage Advisory Group minutes of the 10th of June 2025. The recommendation that they be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Maidment. Seconded, Councillor Miller. Any questions or conversation relating to that? Not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Point 3 is the Heritage Advisory Group minutes of the 31st of July 2025 and the recommendation that they be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Maidment. Seconded, Councillor Miller. Any discussion? I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 2.4 is the Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Advisory Committee minutes of the 31st of July 2025. Is there a move, Councillor Cummins? Seconder, Councillor Livingston. Any discussion relating to that? Those, Councillor Cummins?
Sorry, Mayor Park. Look, I just have a question. In the minutes, and maybe to ensure accuracy, there are 2 of the 3 ward councillors who are on that committee, but only 1 is mentioned in the minutes. Is that an oversight or is that to be corrected? That's in terms of attendance.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, the Mayor, I was scheduled to attend that meeting, but due to an urgent and unforeseen situation that morning, I was unable to. I did follow up with the Chair and with Alan Harvey in the afternoon and then following day to catch up on the meeting. Thank you.
So, Councillor Miller, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Worship. There was in the committee's work plan, in the agenda item, there was a recommendation to consider the governance structure of the committee, but I noticed in the minutes, in their resolution, there was no mention of that. So I just wondered if the committee is part of the review of advisory committees and committees, Section 41 committees that is progressing. And the other one is, or did they discuss it, I guess, is all I'm asking. And the other one was about the native grassland project update and naming of the grassland project. And I just wondered if the committee gave any thought to consulting the community before recommending a naming of that reserve. So they're just the 2 questions that I had. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, thank you for those questions. Taking the first one, the work plan, yes, we did talk to them about the governance structure of the committee. It was also hinging off the conversation around the chairperson. So we had gone out for an EOI for both committee members and for a new chairperson. We'd got 2 submissions back, or 3 submissions back for the committee members, but none back for the chairperson. So we do have someone who's temporarily in place there, as endorsed by the council, and it was really to work our way through that first and then talk about, if required off the back of that, the governance structure of the committee. So yes, it is a point of consideration, but it was not one they wanted to do first. They want to look at the chairperson's position first and talk that one through and get a plan for getting someone in. The second question around the native grasslands, I think the simple answer is no, we didn't talk about consulting the community on the naming of that area. It's a native grasslands area, so they had suggested that it be called native grasslands. So I myself felt that was pretty innocuous in terms of calling it what it is, but being able to sign it and put up interpretive signage to explain what it is, and why it's there and the importance of it and all the other good things that come with having such a thing in place.
Any further discussion relating to those minutes? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Unanimously. 2.5 is the Climate Emergency and Environment Committee minutes of the 5th of August 2025. Recommendation that they be received and noted. Councillor Nicholson. Second to Councillor Livingston. Any questions or discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.6 is the Agricultural Advisory Group minutes of the 5th of August 2025, and the recommendation that they be received and noted. Councillor Scott. The seconder, Councillor Miller. Any questions?
Councillor Miller has a question.
Right. Yep.
Thank you, Worship. I just noticed, I was pleased to see that there's a review of intersection clearing and revisiting the baseline tree pruning mapping, and that was previously done by the Malang Ag Bureau. And I just wondered about the timing of the revisit of that information, when that might happen, if there's an indicative timeline or anything.
Through the Mayor. Thank you for the question. We used to have a document that it was in place and has not in currency at the moment, which we want to reintroduce, which is the roadside native vegetation roadside management plan. And that talks to how we manage all vegetation, but particularly native vegetation within our roads, our verges, because that is the environment in which the most native veg still exists, because it's the environment that's been less touched by development and people in general. So I'm working with the Manager Field Services to redraft that and get that back through. It requires Native Vegetation Council approval, and then allows us to go ahead and do works within that, including designated envelopes for clearing of trees, a lot of which are native vegetation.
Are there any further questions or discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 2.7 is the Cemeteries Advisory Committee minutes of the 6th of August 2025. The recommendation is they be received and noted. Councillor Scott. Second to Councillor Maidment. Any questions or discussion?
Could I pose this question to the GM Infrastructure? Could you give us an update on the proposed public facilities that will be erected at the Strathalbyn Cemetery this term? Oh, this year, sorry.
Yep, through the Mayor. They're currently being, so the documentation for procurement is currently being put together, and then we'll go out to tender for the supply and construction of that toilet block.
Are there any further questions or discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Item 3 is adjourned debate. There is no adjourned debate. Item 4 is presentations and deputations. So 4.1 is a deputation by Grant McInerney and Terry McInerney regarding West Creek Road, Langhorne Creek. Do you wish to come up and speak? Thanks.
Evening, Mayor and fellow councillors and council members. The proposed closure, the only reason I suggested it a few years ago was the amount that council was going to spend doing up a road that I didn't think was overly necessary. The freight route that goes from Mosquito Creek Road to the Kangaroo Road will always be up Mosquito Creek Road and out the McInerney Road through to the Kangaroo Road. So that road will always have to be of a reasonable standard to take the freight. It hasn't been kept up to that standard. Council haven't been doing a great job of it. And when they suggested doing up West Creek Road, I thought, well, that's in the wrong spot because it's not a freight route. For West Creek Road to be utilised, it can be used as a cut across to Murray Bridge, and I'll acknowledge people can save some time if they drive over 100 k's an hour, not give way on two intersections, which my father has already had a head-on collision and written off his car from someone on the wrong side of the road at the end of Boundary Road by someone that's trying to break the sound barrier. My kids in front of my house get constantly sprayed with rocks with people driving way too fast for gravel roads. It is a time saving. If you leave Mosquito Creek Bridge and go via West Creek Road and sit on council roads at 80 kilometres an hour, which I say gravel road, even in good condition, that's about as fast as you want to go. Certainly it's not at that standard at the moment. You're probably 60 to 70 k's an hour. You will save 6 seconds. So it's 4 minutes, 16 seconds going via McInerney Road. It's 4 minutes, 10 to 11 seconds going via West Creek Road. You saving 6 seconds, but you're doing all of that on gravel, on council roads, whereas if you go via McInerney Road, 50% of it's bitumen. So I don't understand why people would worry about it. Plus you've got two intersections you actually have to come to a complete stop at. Just to me, it's a no-brainer. I've lived there all my life. If I was going from there to there, that's the way I would go every day of the week. You're missing all the potholes, you're not having to stop. But, I mean, it's other people's opinion. If they want to go that way, they can, but I wouldn't. And it's just, I think, from my opinion, with council roads is you're taking on too much. You're not keeping up with the road conditions. There's too many potholes on too many roads. I'd rather see less roads than better condition than a whole heap of roads in poor condition. That's just my opinion. Other people can have their own opinion. But for a 6 second saving, where you could probably save 30 seconds, but you'll spray my house with rocks and not give way on the corners. So it was just, when the proposal came along, I thought it might be a good costly saving. Also, I think council have got written down that I want McInerney Road bitumen. I don't think I've ever said that. All I've may have said in the past that it just needs to be of a better standard because there is the freight route. So that's also. And also another bit of confusion was the ad in the Argus. It wasn't a picture of Mosquito Creek Road, it was some other road, so that might confuse some people that were worried about the road as well. I don't know whether it does or it doesn't, but it wasn't West Creek Road that was the photo of. But also, it doesn't completely, closure of West Creek Road doesn't stop access to, you can still go that way. If you want to take machinery that way, sheep that way, we'll have to take machinery and sheep that way. So there was a thing about there not being access for that, and that's not the case at all. It'll be an extra 582 metres, I think, to go up to Mosquito Creek Road and turn right and come that way. So, 60 k's an hour, that's about 40 seconds. So I don't think it's that inconvenient if you want to still go that way. So, but yeah, anyway, if that's okay, if you're happy with that, that's about all I've got to say. So,
yeah, thanks very much, Grant.
No worries.
Has anybody got any questions or councillor Amendment?
So if this road were to close, what would happen to the road itself? Would you be rehabilitating that, or just leave it for your own convenience?
Well, I know council's proposal was to sell it to us, and that's, I think that's really the only option that we got, which I don't know why they had to sell it to us. Why couldn't you just put a bank of dirt off of it and close it? There's plenty of closed roads around that we could plant to trees, do whatever for native vegetation. I don't know why it exactly had to be closed, but if council's only option is to sell to it, well, to try and make some money back of it, I'll have to rip the road up and put crop on it and try and make some money out of it. But yeah, that's the only proposal that I think council gave us, was to sell it wholly and solely. It's only 5 acres, I think, altogether. It's not really a land grab. It's not going to make me a millionaire, I can tell you that. 1,000 times more than that, and I'm still struggling to make a living. So, yeah.
Any further questions or discussion? Councillor Scott.
Just looking at the map, who would use it? Where would they be going if they used it? Because to me, there's McInerney Road's running out there, and the other one's running out to the right. The only thing that's been, if you're going to the right, you're just losing that little bit. You have to go that extra 600, 500 metres, you said.
Yeah.
But what's the point of it? It seems to be just...
Well, you can go that way because the people know that there's no radars or whatever that way, so they put their boot into it and they can save 40 seconds. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, is I just think for the time saving, what's wasting $40,000 on, for, you know, council. I think I've seen enough of the council budget. You shouldn't be spending any more than you need to. I just didn't think it was worthwhile. I thought that was just my idea of the whole proposal anyway. So,
Anybody else? Any questions? No. Thanks very much, Grant.
No worries.
Terry, thanks for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
4.2 is a development proposal regarding the Flying Fish Cafe at Port Elliot, and we have Ms Bronwyn Lewis to make a deputation regarding that.
Mayor Parkes.
Councillor Kerman, sorry.
Yes, look, I need to declare that conflict of interest as Deputy Member of the Fleurieu Regional Assessment Panel, and I'll leave the room.
Righto, that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor Parkes, elected members. I'm here today. I hope I won't take more than the 5 minutes. I haven't asked for more, so hopefully I haven't rehearsed it, so it shouldn't be more than 5 minutes. I'm just here to remind you of your responsibility as the landowner of the Flying Fish Cafe. The current application, which has... does this work? Back. Sorry. The current application that has gone in is considerably better than the previous one a couple of years ago, and I do acknowledge the work that the business owners have done. But there's a couple of process issues that I really think that we need to look at, both from the council point of view and from the community point of view. So this was the kiosk that some of us in this room, Councillor Scott and some of the people in the room, will remember this kiosk of the 50s. And the current master plan for Horseshoe Bay was prepared in 2002 by Jensen's. It was one of the bones of contention around the recent master plan that we didn't include Horseshoe Bay. This is the Flying Fish when the last lease was signed. So it has had considerable updates since then, and it's still a very attractive spot. The lease that we signed when I was a councillor spoke of in year 4, a renovation, not an extension. And an extension, like you did last month on the Clayton Bay Caravan Park, requires the landowner's consent. So the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is that we have a development application in Plan SA at this stage without any of that process, and I believe council should be following the same process for all their assets. This is the existing elevation according to the plans that are lodged on Plan SA. This is yesterday morning at 10 a.m. As you can see, at the front of the building, there are a group of people. There's probably more people outside than in, even though it was very inclement. And there is people with wheelchairs, there's young people, enjoying that pavement area, which is the area that is of most concern to me. As I was leaving the cafe, and I'm a regular user of the cafe, there was a different group of people sitting there. It had rained, those had left, and new people had come to sit down, obviously putting their raincoats on the seat. In the proposed elevation, that place that you've just seen is enclosed. Now, one of the reasons why I object to the development of this is because this cuts off the site from the park, from anywhere across to the surf club, because you're going to have a building over that pavement. So this is straight from the development application. It's a new esplanade entrance. They've said there's no impediment on existing traffic using the Esplanade Boulevard walkway. Well, that's the walkway below, but there is an impediment for people to actually sit where they've sat for generations. So the developer, and I know the business owner doesn't like being called a developer, but it is a development application, so I call it a developer, wants to use public land to expand it right to the edge of the walkway, taking away a treasured position for people to view the sea, reducing access in inclement weather, so you have to actually go down to the lower path, and cutting the line of sight across the bay. So this is looking the other way, and you can see how the edge wall, so looking at that photo, if you line up with the blue bin, you will see that that's where the cafe will come out to, and you will lock off all that site of the bay. It will really enclose that playground, and in my opinion, it will destroy from the amenity. I'll just point out the blue bin is a recycled bin by Port Elliot Town of Foreshore, because council has never got recycle bins down to Horseshoe Bay. Just thought I'd throw that one in. Anyway, here's the plan. You can see where the original building is. So that line of W's, the curved bit is the pavement. The line of W's at the back is where the new bit at the back is going to go. So this is a really good example in the plan. The existing area is yellow, the proposed area is bluey grey, and the red area is the previous development application. And as you can see, it is a significant reduction, and we acknowledge that, but it's still 114 square metres of public land. So if you own a business in the Strand, you cannot build onto the footpath. You cannot build onto your next door neighbour's land. This is what this is doing. So what we're saying is, all along we've said nobody's complained about them going up. I don't know why they can't look at that. It would be spectacular. But enclosing the footpath and taking away from the playground is really questionable. So the kiosk deck at the rear, I totally agree. It'll take away all the traffic, but it's expanding into the playground area. And that's what the community have objected to in the past. It's still going to happen. If you see where the W's are, that area with the tables and the kiosk zone is all new encroachment into the playground, and then the tables in front of that, what they've drawn, I presume that council is supposed to put them there, or they might, but they're going into the playground again. And to give you a sense, this is the eastern elevation, so you can see how it would look. But there's the playground, there's the shadow. That little seat is where I presume the row of seats will come down. So you can see it's really going to bite into where the playground is. Now, if you look at this photo, and these are taken yesterday morning, that shadow area, I can see that there's a real possibility there. But it's up to council to work out whether that's the right place for the building to be expanded. So there's a tree that's going to be removed. I acknowledge that they've saved the bigger trees that everybody was upset about. It's not a big tree, but it does give you the size of the land and the seat and the chairs so that you get a sense of how much of that small playground is going to be lost. So we have to make sure it's the right decision. And it's not just the right decision for us, it's not just the right decision for the business owner, it's the right decision for future generations. Because once you take it away, you can't get it back. So the lawn reserve is frequented by families all the time. And in Vaxwim we have about 1,000 kids a day, and the siblings and families use this space. So it's a much used space in summer. You're seeing it on a cold, wet winter morning. And then the other issue, of course, is car parking. This is me taking a photo from my car, waiting for a car park at 10 a.m. yesterday morning. It's winter, it's wet, the cafe had a few people in it, but it's not crowded at all down there. The car park is. Where are people going to park? And I accept that the amenity needs to be improved. I totally get, from a business point of view, they need one kitchen and to fix up the usable space within the cafe. But we also have to think about the people who live here, the people who visit here, and how they'll, go away rather than park if we have not enough parking spaces. So in every other planning development, you have to put in car parking. In the Strand, when they did Salt, they had to put in car parking. There's a row of car parks down the side. So where will the people park? The traffic congestion will alienate both locals and visitors. So that's that drawing again. I think it's really powerful. The issues that I want to summarise is the building needs your consent as a landowner. The extension of 114 square metres is a variation on the existing lease, and we believe that that variation is substantive enough to require public consultation. Should the council be looking at a return on investment? If this is going to be a much bigger building and council is the landowner, what's in it for council? This is a unique heritage asset. Once the encroachment happens, you cannot reverse it. The Port Elliot community, we're pretty passionate about our heritage, and those of you who've been around know that we succeeded in the ER court against the council in the past. We have made such inroads recently. Please sit down and talk to the people. We have a public meeting tomorrow, and I know the business owners are here tonight, and we've asked them to come along. We're not against the building being upgraded. We just want it to make...
We've gone now over 10 minutes.
Oh God, sorry. So, council, there's my last slide. Council is responsible for ensuring our children and older people are catered for in our beautiful bay. Thank you.
Now, are there any questions? No? Too good.
Okay, thanks.
Presentation was too good. Thank you very much.
I'll just get my USB.
So 4.3 is regarding the cleaning up of algal blooms, and we have Mr. Andrew Lake and Wendy Wang to make a deputation regarding that. So welcome, and go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Parkes and councillors, for allowing us to present this. As you know, the algal bloom is a pretty major problem. And as luck would have it, you have some people in South Australia, or based in South Australia now, who are pretty well world experts in dealing with these things. Well, we are world experts in dealing with these things. I'll talk first about the Presiding group of companies. It's SA-based, globally active enterprise that is formed from the bringing together of expertise in cutting-edge science, technology development and innovation in the protection of environments and ecosystems. Pristine itself is dedicated to build and built around preserving those parts of the biosphere most important to and at risk from human activities such as agriculture and water in their broadest sense. Preserving these key environmental resources to be able to continue to deliver both food and water for the future is our core business. The SA algal bloom is new here, but not unexpected, at least by us. We've been warning about these issues for some time, as in years. Algal blooms are increasingly regular and damaging occurrences now in large parts of the Northern Hemisphere. This is where both food and water are fundamentally linked. The nitrogen fertiliser that underwrites most current food production technologies is also the source of the nitrogen pollution that is the primary cause of these blooms. It's not climate change, it's nitrogen pollution. If there is no nitrogen, you will not get a bloom, period. Without going into detail, this is where Pristine is at the global cutting edge. Among many other attributes, our decades of professional experience spans creating not only the low end polluting farming systems, and I've been working on that for about 50 years, but also cutting edge water pollution reduction and remediation and dealing with algal blooms and related problems. For example, Wendy and her father, for over 4 decades throughout the People's Republic of China. That makes this new group globally unique. We do have the resources to make a hell of a difference here, and particularly in light of the fact that these issues impact very strongly on your major income sources. I think we would like to sort of demonstrate a little bit of what can be done. To that end, I'll hand over to Wendy Wong, and she will talk a little bit about that, and then I'll come back.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. When we're starting to talking about algal blooms, we starting to look at eutrophication. So when we're having like algal blooms, mainly with like lake or rivers, we've been having like a lot of like, mature and efficient technologies being applied right now. First thing is, when we're having like algal blooms, we should like collecting and harvest algae from the water by using modified clay or substance. So we clump them up and trying to harvest them out from the water. The second thing after that, the second step, we are applying to filters. So we filter them out through a stainless screen, which is like micron-sized like screen. So we can harvest all our like micron-sized blue algae out from the water. Then those machines we can install on the like unmanned automatic like vessels hovered on the like surface of the water, then which is like solar panel powered. And this is like a really like energy safe like applications. Eventually, because the nitrogen leaking, we can't like stop them instantly. Then we have to apply another like technology called ultrasound like controller to prevent like future algae blooms. Those is like a very quick, efficient 3 steps to having a better, healthier, and safe like environment and ecosystems. Yeah, this is like what we use in China.
Yeah, okay, so this is, as Wendy says, we've been doing this for a long time in China and elsewhere in the world. It's a major problem. It's a major problem. What we're seeing here is the beginning. If we get onto it early, we have the chance to reduce the pollution before it gets out of hand. We envisage that these technologies will certainly work in the Coorong, for example, and help protect the World Heritage Area there. In addition, obviously Lake Alexandrina and strategic use around the coastline even to protect Horseshoe Bay was mentioned earlier. That's a reasonably enclosed area where there's a chance to actually get on top of that algae and protect it. And these sorts of things can be brought online pretty quickly. And we would hope, for example, that it could be brought in so that those strategic spots can be protected for swimming and so on for the upcoming summer, for example. That's the sort of thing. Now, we have tried very hard to talk to government about these issues. To be frank, we haven't got very far at all. They wouldn't be talking at all about nutrients and the role of nutrients in these algal blooms if it wasn't for us jumping up and down. However, they still won't talk to us about the solutions. Blaming it on climate change, yeah, climate change has its effects, and I'm not discounting that. But I come back to the major point, and this is not me, this is international consensus. This is people who've been working on it for decades. This problem, if it's based on nitrogen, without nitrogen, you won't have blooms. And that's the issue that we have here. We do need support. We haven't been able to get to government ourselves, so we're asking your support and to consider what you can do in terms of bringing this to the attention of government as to, protection of local industries and local environments, obviously. I think I'd like to sort of open it for questions, shoot questions at us, And I draw attention to that's before and after. That's the sort of thing that can happen, the picture there. There was another picture showing before and after filtration as that comes through. Does not matter. There's also before and after filtrations. This started off as quite small stuff many years ago, more than a decade ago in your case. It's now been engineered up to major and effective technologies capable of handling large volumes of water and protecting it and cleaning it up. So, questions, please.
Thanks, Andrew. Anybody got any questions? Councillor Miller. Councillor Nicholson, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you, remind me, what is the system called? And do you think that it would have had an impact when a current, I suppose, theory is that the 22-23 flooding is where a lot of the nutrient came from? Could the system be effective in that type of situation where there's that significant body of water in a sort of a one-off event?
Yeah.
As this systems, it's not like just one system. So when we're talking about algal blooms, it's ecosystems. So we come from step by step. We employ it like different types of technologies. But our capacity for one unit, the toppest one, one unit we can treatment 120,000 cubic meters per day. So which is huge applications. Water goes through all those systems. And those we can apply not only for small, small pond or small river or stream, we can application on even in marine requirements. Yeah.
Any further questions? Councillor Scott.
As always, it gets back to cost. Is any indicative cost of doing Horseshoe Bay, and if that were contaminated, any indicative cost of cleaning it up?
Yeah, currently mainly for our cost for the different types of water which is very affordable. So mainly our all our equipment or our technology has been pneumatic one or the solar panel powered. Then this is the only thing we need to worry about. The first thing is the chemical or like in the clays we applied. So which if we can having like a really good like suppliers in Australia, so which is like the same like wastewater treatment plant we hire the employee here. So for the algae harvest, it's not like a really costly like technology to apply right now, and considering how massive like amount, not even for the different types of algae in the ocean, river and lakes, everybody right now, most of the country can afford it. So it just depends on how we just calculate the local costs.
Could I also add on that just quickly? Dench Lake in Kunming is a very good example of the importance of getting onto these problems earlier. Wendy's father started working on Dench Lake in 1985 or thereabouts. There wasn't enough money, there wasn't enough knowledge around in those days, so it was just small scale stuff. Now on that single lake, because it's got completely out of control, in 2019 I think were the last figures available for it, they spent the equivalent of $10 billion in a single year that's a water source for Kunming. That's a huge amount of money, obviously, and getting onto it early and sort of getting on top of the problem, staying on top of the problem, is going to be a lot less expensive. Be better for us because we'll get more money in the future to sort it out. But that's just a comment.
Any further questions? No. So, Andrew, Wendy, thank you very much for your time and presentation. Very topical subject at the moment on everybody's minds. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
4.4 is again a deputation regarding the proposed road closure of West Creek Road, Langhorne Creek, and we have Chris Eckert and Act Verco to make a deputation to us. Yep. Go ahead.
Mr Mayor, fellow councillors, I'm Act Verco, as was stated, and I've been a ratepayer for 50 years in this area, and I've been using that road all my life. Mr Scott may ask, who may use that road? Well, I'll tell you who uses the road. An ambulance service from Murray Bridge to our place will GPS that road, quickest way to our place. I had an anaphylactic fit once, and the ambulance was en route to me, got lost because they didn't follow their GPS recordings, and my heart rate was down to nearly not beating when they finally got there. And so that is a thing. Also the game reserve, Tolderoy Game Reserve, they've spent in excess of $7 million on it. The traffic, 30% of the traffic that comes in that way will go down that road from Murray Bridge or Eastern States and the southeast. Southeast people come to have holiday houses at Victor Harbour and Goolwa. They always use that road. The road you want to send us down, McInerney Road, and then you turn left, it's got scrub all down one side of it where kangaroos are all often sleeping in, and I feel unsafe driving down that road because of the kangaroos there. And yeah, I'll ring you up if we hit one and you'll have blood on your hands. And also where we go to Wellington Road there, it's very unsafe because you can't, it's blind looking at traffic coming on the right hand side, and you're looking to the left, looking right, and they just swing on you really quickly. So whereas you come on Boundary South Road, it's a beautiful T-junction, that we hit. I'll hand you over to Chris now.
Yes, I reiterate with that because it's the most direct and the shortest route out for anyone that's going to Murray Bridge and Wellington, and that will be the major volume of the traffic that goes down that way. Only people going to Kangaroo Road would want to go up the proposed way that will be forced to go, well, encouraged to go. It is considerably shorter, and no one goes that fast past the McInerney's. Most people slow down because there's houses and so forth, so I don't think it's a major speed hazard. Our neighbour is a permitted B-double holder, and he travels along that way, and he's forced to go out up McInerney Road, and that, he said, and then he turns right and heading towards Wellington East, because he goes out through Murray Bridge. Sometimes he goes to Kangaroo Highway, but most of the time he's heading out Murray Bridge because he goes out Pinaroo Way. He says it's extremely difficult to get around that corner because you have to swing out into the opposite lane of traffic because the road doesn't meet at right angles, and so it's a bad intersection. He was saying he would much rather West Creek Road done up and the junction be at Boundary Road because it's a square-on corner. Anyway, that's up to future things. Hand on to you.
Well, you know, the road's been there for over 100 years, and it's, as a road transport mob said, it was used by 25 to 50 cars a day, which I would say around our area that's very busy. I mean, that's a lot of traffic there, and you know, they're getting gravel flicked up, and I'd like to see where it's coming from because the rubble's not very good on it, and it's a fairly smooth surface, which I couldn't see many stones. But you know, I can't see if you're going to sell the land why we haven't got the right to purchase it. I mean, how can the land just be sold to one person? We're ratepayers, so it should be up for auction or something, and we can buy it and we'll keep it as a bloody road because we use it often.
And I just sort of wonder if a fairly majorly used road like this can be closed. It'll probably set a precedent for other people wanting to close a lot lesser used roads. And, you know, everyone says, oh, we don't need so many roads, but roads are there and everyone uses them. So anyway, that's my thought.
Yeah, that's it.
Anybody got any questions or comments? Councillor Scott.
Unfortunately, I know a bit about the northern beyond that, but that actual road I'm not familiar. I'm working off a map here. So you're saying that you come up this Mosquito Creek Road and turn right into West Creek to head out to go right out to Boundary Road.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's our shortest route to Road. We've got a house at Road, so we use it to go there. To go to eastern states, if you're ever travelling to Sydney or Melbourne, you go that way. And Murray Bridge is a very busy township now, so we do a lot of our business in Murray Bridge.
And I don't think the road junctions are any issue. I was saying there's extra road junctions, but when you come over that little bridge, everyone's got to slow down because it's a narrow bridge, and that's one of the first junctions, so that's everyone's going slow to turn up there, so that one's not an issue. And then the only other junction you've got is when you go up at the end of West Creek Road to hit Boundary Road, and that's everyone has to turn 90 degrees. 90% of the traffic's turning left there, so everyone slows down for that. I can't see there's any junction issues. There's less junction issues because the Boundary Road and Langhorne Creek Road is square, so everyone can pull out and see, unlike the other one.
Anybody else got any questions? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you so much for giving us a bit of extra information. I think as an elected council member, I certainly understand a lot of feedback from our council ratepayers around the cost of rates. We know that we have a lot of road to maintain. I suppose I am interested in that idea that, you know, is this road really necessary if we can actually invest money in other roads to have better quality roads and less roads? Would you say that this section of road saves time and safety to the point that it's
It'll be used far more often than McInerney Road. McInerney is probably only used by the McInerneys because it goes off towards Langhorne Creek, and yeah, like I've never driven down it, I don't think, in my whole life, but I've driven down this road so many times, you know, because it's a good access road to eastern states, Murray Bridge, and in the southeast.
And I don't think it's a major problem for the council because it's not a very lengthy piece of road. It's like a shortcut, so it's pretty logical.
Yeah, doesn't get graded very often.
Anybody else got any further questions? So, Terry, thank you very much, Chris, and for your presentation. Thanks a lot. Thank you. So item 5 is petitions. There are no petitions. Item 6 is questions with notice. 6.1 is a question from Councillor Nicholson regarding Billabong Road curbing and stormwater drainage. And that's the only question without notice we have, and the answer to that is in our agenda. Item 7 is questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I have 3 very brief questions. Just on I noticed we had an update on the Australian Coastal Council's Alliance conference that was held in Mooloolaba in Queensland on the 31st of July and the 1st of August. But there wasn't a mention of the algal bloom in their report dated the 13th of August, and I just wondered if the Australian Coastal Council's Alliance are aware of the magnitude of the algal bloom, Your Worship, because it wasn't on their conference agenda and it also wasn't in the latest newsletter that came out.
So, yes, they are aware of it. However, it wasn't part of the agenda set for that conference, but they're aware of it. In fact, we had a discussion with two members from Tasmania who have got a similar situation on the southwest coast of Tasmania, but nothing like South Australia.
My other question is about the Scots agreement for the Southern Communities Transport Scheme new tender, and I just wondered if Yankalilla is or is part of it, because in an agenda item tonight, which I might not be in the room for, it does say that Yankalilla is part of that agreement, but in our portal update it says that they weren't, and it's in the agenda item it says the agreements have been executed. So I'm just trying to understand if they are in it or not in it, and if the terms of reference will be changing, or the council membership representation on that Scots will be reconsidered, given now Kangaroo Island is going to be part of the tender, as I understand it. And then I have one other brief question. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, I apologise if there's conflicting information. My understanding was that Yankalilla aren't part of it, but if it is in the detail of this report, that maybe it has changed as the contract negotiations went on, but I can take it on notice to provide that detail. And as far as the elected membership on that group, I'd have to ask City of Victor Harbour, who are hosting that, but I would assume that it would be renewed through an expression of interest, but I can put that on notice as well.
And just finally, at the River Lakes and Coorong Action Group AGM, it was raised with me about signage for updating the Ramsar signage there, and I just wondered if they've approached council about it. They said they were going to, but I don't know if they have, if there's some contact that's been had.
Not aware of it. Alan's not aware of it. So any further questions without notice? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Worship. My question is in relation to the shelters at Freeman's Knob in Port Elliot. It's my understanding that the community, including residents of Port Elliot National Trust, Port Elliot Town and Foreshore Improvement Association, and Miss Abbott's family, in relation to one of the shelters, which is a memorial, would be given an opportunity to be consulted on the shelter designs. I believe that construction is due soon, so my question is about what input has the community had in the final designs of the shelters?
Through the Mayor, I understood that we had gone straight back to those that were involved in the initial consultation, including the people you've mentioned, with the designs of those shelters. So if there is any information that people are missing, I would gladly receive that, and we can go back to them with that information.
Any further questions about notice? No, so thank you. Move on to item 8, which is notice of motions. 8.1 is a motion from Councillor Miller regarding public participation in the council meeting in Strathalbyn on the 15th of September It's in your motions in there. Move, Councillor Miller. Do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, Worship. Just very briefly, I was hoping that this could be supported as just a once-off trial. We've been advised that to host the council meeting in Strathalbyn will cost $3,000. So I guess I'm trying to get back some bang for our buck and make sure that the community has this opportunity to be engaged. Not everybody can drive to Goolwa to participate. And I just think it would give us a little insight into testing the water to see if there is actually any appetite from our community to take this opportunity to ask a question in a council meeting. I really appreciate the administration's advice in the response to this, and I think they are all things that could be managed. I think we just say it's to ask a question and get an answer, and if you can't get an answer, we'll get it to you outside of the meeting. But I don't want to overcomplicate it. I want to keep it very simple, and I'm asking for someone to support this and you all to vote for it, to just test the water with our community. And when our code of practice for access to meetings comes up for review later in the year, we've got a bit of intel or indication of if there's any appetite for it. So I don't think there's any harm in doing this, and I'm sure that the community would be very respectful in how they ask their questions and the topics that they asked. But I guess I'm at the mercy of my colleagues and just looking for an opportunity to test this. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for that? Seconder? Councillor Thornton? Is there any discussion? Councillor Maidman.
This will throw our governance team into a spin because there are no procedures around this previously, and we'll be setting a precedent which opens it up, open slather for wherever future council meetings are held for a similar situation. So we don't really know how it's going to work, and I'd be inclined to workshop this personally and with the governance team and get some policy and some procedures around all of this before I would vote for it.
Any councillor comments?
Yeah, look, I'm not in favour of this either. I think we need to do a bit of work before we proceed. I've watched a number of other councils where they've introduced this, and to describe it as a disaster is probably a reasonable way of describing it, because I was watching one particular council where the question is meant to be asked 7 days in advance. This provides an opportunity for staff to provide professional response, and then on the actual council meeting the person comes forward and can ask the question and the answer is pre-prepared. Unfortunately, when the persons do come forward, they then spend an inordinate amount of time as an introduction to their question and then ask the question. And it's more looking to criticise what's happening within the council walls rather than seeking something useful. So I would rather, we have an opportunity for people to make deputations. I'd love to see some people from Strath come along on the meeting night and make some deputation about their particular organisations and ask council to consider various things. But questions like this, I think the element of risk is, let's work it through first and get a policy and then perhaps look at it. I'm not supporting this.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just quickly, I think it's a great idea worth considering, but my concern would just be around the value if many of the questions are sort of just taken on notice rather than been able to have the preparation to give a valuable response. So, and then I would then feel worried if they're given in writing, just practically how much time is given to preparing for the meeting. So I love that we're having the meeting there, but I just don't feel confident that this would be a real value add.
Any further? So before you have your right to reply, I might give my opinion. I we have multiple ways for our community to ask questions and communicate with us. And they can do deputations, as we've seen tonight. We don't knock deputations back. We welcome them, and we advise people that have asked for them the best way to go about it, and maybe the timing of their deputation, so it coincides with the business they're talking about. You've got emails, you've got telephone calls, you've got our council website, you have 9 elected members out there in the wards who members of the public can talk to and ask to please put on a question to the council meeting so that I can see the answer recorded in the minutes for everybody to see. As Councillor Cooman says, I know of several councils where they have gone along for many years with questions from the gallery, and it causes a considerable amount of chaos. That people tend to abuse that privilege. I don't want to be put into a situation where somebody comes here and starts talking about something, gets agitated and upset, and then I've got to shut them down and control it. So it puts me in a difficult position. I would rather them go through the proper process, understanding what the deal is, how we do it, and carry on. The meeting we're having in Strathalbyn is one of our council meetings. It's a council meeting, which is the way we normally conduct a council meeting. Nothing special, nothing different, just to let the people see how we run a meeting in Strathalbyn. No changes. And we've, for many, many years, well, the history of the council, we've never had questions from the gallery. And I know our neighbouring councils wish they didn't, because it does cause them a lot of problems. I'd rather have 10 deputations than no questions from the gallery. But you'll have your right to reply.
Thank you, Worship, and I will completely respect the views of my colleagues on this one. I've been an observer of council meetings for almost 20 years, and I must be looking at different councils, because I've always found the community, when they are in a formal environment, have been respectful and on topic, and have asked questions in the interest of being transparent. And usually it's a question that relates to something that is urgent and happening in the community, and is of interest to many. So I suspect that this will be lost, but I thought there was some merit in putting it forward, and I have a lot of faith in my community. I think that behaviour is not an issue when people are in a formal meeting environment, but thank you for considering this opportunity and your feedback.
That ends the discussion, so I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? It is lost. (8.2) is a motion from Councillor Nicholson regarding the Billabong Road Footpath Project Reinstatement. It's moved by Councillor Nicholson. Do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, Your Worship. In November 2024, we were presented a recommendation to proceed with the footpath on Billabong Road, connecting Beach Road to Barrage Road in Goolwa. The administration report highlighted the footpath was classified as a high priority within our footpath master plan and the endorsed pathways prioritisation guidelines. Billabong Road cuts through a populated area of Goolwa and would connect residents from Goolwa Beach through Goolwa South to the Bristow Smith Reserve, playground and waterfront, the Klim Research Centre and Cafe. Walkers can head north along the waterfront to Goolwa Wharf Precinct and weekend markets and into Goolwa Township. You can also head south all the way to the barrage, spotting birds and seals. Billabong Road is a beautiful street with the Goolwa Golf Course cutting across it. It does require stormwater management infrastructure, and as per my question on notice, this complex and important project is underway. But the footpath is currently stalled. At our meeting last year, we received results of a public consultation on the footpath. From 82 responses, 27%, approximately 22 respondents, suggested no footpath was needed at all. A further petition was presented to us with 29 signatures to that end. I do want to acknowledge the 29 people who feel that no footpath is needed. I accept that that is their opinion and I thank them for offering that view to Council for consideration. It is not consistent with our master plan, however, or the footpath prioritisation guideline. Footpaths are not installed only for residents of the street. They are critical safety, access and inclusion infrastructure for a whole community. I have heard from many other residents who are deeply disappointed in Council's decision to delay this project and our underinvestment in footpaths altogether. I urge you to consider the broader community in this decision. If we do not commit to reconsidering this project, we are demonstrating to our community that residents of streets dictate where footpaths will go, not the objective expertise of our planners, consultants, infrastructure managers and teams, community expectations or endorsed strategic plans. In terms of whether the footpath goes on the northern or southern side of the road, 45% of survey respondents said north, 28% said south. However, it is not a decision of the heart. Here, again, Council must demonstrate consideration of objective recommendations influenced most importantly by road standards, environmental considerations and the Stormwater project. Change is difficult, but footpaths are an important piece of infrastructure for our communities and residents of Goolwa expect Council to invest in them as our population continues to grow. The Billabong Road footpath was recognised in Alexandrina's footpath master plan and endorsed pathways prioritisation guidelines. There is room for it on either side of the road. I'm asking you to ensure it is considered in next year's budget with further information following completion of the Stormwater project on which side of the road is most appropriate. Elected members, this footpath project is important. Please support this motion.
So do we have a seconder for that, Councillor Livingston? Are you speaking to it?
Yes,
you need to tell me if you want to speak, please.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I'm happy to support this. The last time this came to the chamber, there was a recommendation to make a decision, even though we did not have the budget to do the project. I acknowledge the push from the community for us to consider it, and I think next year would be most appropriate. I reiterate the intent of the motion is to not commit to doing the project, but is saying that we will consider it as part of the next year's budget cycle.
Any further discussion? Councillor Kerbing.
Yeah, look, I'm prepared to support this because it's one of the many items that we'll be considering as part of the next year's budget, and this should be, if a councillor would like this to be included for consideration, I think that's fair enough. I'm just trying to recollect a bit of history about when we went through this, because normally when you put a footpath in, it's for the convenience of those who live along the road. And I think there was a fairly strong push for it to be on the other side, on the golf course side. And that to me sort of defeats the purpose for a footpath a bit. But I think we can consider all that when we look at the, when it comes up considering the budget next year. So I'm happy to support it.
Any further discussion? No? So before we have it, so I just, you know, I agree. Get it back, and I agree. You're only asking for us to consider it, not dedicate money to it at this stage. But this thing, we need to do it. We need to look at it once more and get on with it. This has been backwards and forward to council, and we've redesigned it and messed around with it so many times. And years ago we were ready to start doing it, and they told us to stop. We could have done it for a third of the cost of what it'll cost us now if we'd have done it then. And it was often considered that it should be part of the encounter bikeway. And there is room to do it. There are problems, like some of the other roads we come across where they want footpaths, where the verge changes at one end. And this verge does change at Beach Road. It becomes a section where it's no longer a flat verge, it's a steep verge towards the ocean. So we just need to sort it out. It is a road which it's wide enough to drive two cars up and down without any trouble. but it's not very wide if you're walking as well. And it is very, very popular for people to walk from all of that South Lakes area. People that walk there and people that ride bikes and walk on the bike and use the bikeway. Use it. So I often drive up there. We've always got somebody or a bunch of kids on bikes or somebody on that road, and it is dangerous. So you can understand why people want it done. Back in the early days, main objectors for having it on the northern side were because they didn't want the footpath going across their lawns, because their lawns go straight to the road. But the footpath would go on council land, not on their land. And a lot of that objections are gone now. People just want the path for the safety. So Councillor Nicholson, do you want to? Sorry, thanks. So I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 8.3 is a motion from Councillor Miller regarding the Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Conservation Master Plan review changes and state government consultation. It's moved by you. Do you wish to move and speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Just very briefly. I don't think this does actually duplicate the recommendation that's later in the meeting. The state government owns the land, and in the report that's later in the meeting at 10.1, I think it was, if the process and timeline as discussed in that officer's report is supported, then broader community engagement on this is months and months away, and more than likely in the new year. So, we've actually just heard a deputation about getting landowner consent around before changing something in a lease. So, and I think there's no risk and no harm in asking the Minister for his views on this, then we could go to the community knowing what the Minister thinks, or at least be able to demonstrate to the community that we have turned our minds to finding out what the landowners' thoughts are. So there's no risk here. I think we do need to actually turn our minds to acknowledging the owner of the land and what their thoughts might be, and also other leaseholders, including the Port Elliot Caravan Park, but I'll speak to that later. So I'm just asking for some thought to be given to speaking to the Minister about what are relatively significant changes to a master plan that was adopted and consulted on in 2017 and did include engagement with the Minister on that. So I'm seeking someone to support this, and I'll raise it again later if I have to. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for this? Seconder? No. So that will lapse through want of a seconder. So we move to 8.4, which is a motion from Councillor Nicholson regarding the Arts Advisory Group. It's moved by Councillor Nicholson. You wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Worship. Alexandrina Council has in the past been proud to identify as a regional centre of arts. As the administration report to this motion outlines, an Art Advisory Committee provided advice to the elected body for over 20 years. In 2022, however, we accepted the advice of then Section 41 Arts and Culture Advisory and dissolved the committee. Since then, we have experienced a council term focused on financial recovery. We have navigated shocks and horrors, responded, not reacted, and have worked hard across the whole organisation to set a course for financial sustainability. We are working on a cohesive plan to deliver the priorities from our many strategic documents, and we have modest, realistic forward estimates to deliver the expectations and aspirations of our community. As we continue now to weave the decisions of each ordinary council meeting into the fabric of our region, we must remember that arts and culture is not just nice to have. Art and culture contribute to economic stability and resilience through attracting visitors to our region, and to health and well-being through social connections, identity and creativity. I do want to formally acknowledge, Your Worship, the current work and dedication of our Arts and Culture Officer, along with the community team, grants officer and all of the staff and community volunteers who contribute to art and culture across Alexandrina now, and I want to thank them all. I believe it is time that this chamber re-establish our connection to the art and culture pulse within our region. I believe an advisory group can support our decision making, strengthen our art and culture identity, and brighten the light on opportunities in this space. I accept all of the officer's comments. It is very important for us to consider the resource implications of establishing another committee. The timing, role and objectives would absolutely need to be carefully considered too. My intention is to gain high-level advice and support for decision-making in this chamber, not lose efficiency or effectiveness in the skills and passion within council. I have thought about this for several months and I am pleased to bring this motion for consideration tonight. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder, Councillor Livingston? Would you speak to it?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to support this motion. I'm sure we can all appreciate that Alexandrina Council have always been a leading council when it comes to the arts sector. Since this committee dissolved at the start of our term, the community feedback is that we as a council are lacking strategic direction in that area. I acknowledge the work that administration do in the space, in particular the Arts and Culture Officer, and in my view the proposed advisory group would only add to that valuable work. We have experts in this space across our community who would be able to provide valuable insight, knowledge and advice in this space. For me, this motion is very timely, especially given our review of the Wharf Precinct area, which arts and culture feature in. It is also timely because of the work we are about to undertake in relation to volunteer engagement in Alexandrina. And lastly, I can acknowledge that advisory groups and Section 41 committees are something that is a resource for administration. However, I think, especially given our budget situation, that this is an advisory group that is worth resourcing. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councillor Coomans?
Look, I agree with everything that's been said in relation to an arts advisory group, but I really think we need to do this properly, and I much prefer what the alternate recommendation is, that we resolve in principle to establish an arts advisory group to receive advice from community experts on the delivery of services, programs and infrastructure to support art and culture in our region. And together with that, we also need a terms of reference for the proposed arts advisory group, and that needs to be drafted and brought to a future meeting. So everything's been said I agree with, but we need to work this properly, and I think the suggested alternate recommendation is a better way to go.
Any further? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Worship. I won't be supporting this, and I wouldn't support the alternative recommendation either. And it's not because I don't support arts and culture, but in 2024, you may remember that a report was completed into Council's arts and culture programs, and we had a briefing session on it. On the 14th of October, we received the service review into visitor services and visual arts. That agenda item was released from Confidence in January this year, if anybody wants to read it, and go and find it in it's under the 14th of October 2024 date. It did not recommend a committee structure or advisory group. In fact, recommendations 1 and 14 are relevant to this motion. Recommendation 1 talked about Alexandrina's draft arts strategy, which was completed in 2023 and which should, with a few minor changes, be put forward for approval for release for public consultation. Adopting that strategy would help establish the aims and goals of the arts and culture program, which would in turn direct and guide decision making. That strategy has never been considered by the community or the chamber. So I query why we would set up a committee or advisory group to give strategic direction when we actually do already have that, and we've completed that body of work. We've just never actually formally considered it. Our investment in the arts is significant. In the current budget, there's $563,000 towards arts and culture programs. The review said we could reduce operating costs by 281,000 if we just simply consolidated our galleries. It also recommended spreading arts resources more equitably across our council district, not just in Goolwa. Recommendation 14 of that arts and review said an integrated arts and cultural team that brings together the visual and performing arts should be established, and it talks to what the structure of that might look like. So I think we actually have a large body of work, in fact 2 large bodies of work already completed, that I think an advisory group would almost be obsolete because we've progressed to a point where we have that information. We just need to consider it and resource it, and I just don't think we need an advisory group. We've done a service review, a program review. We have a draft arts strategy, but we've never considered it. So I think the timing is just not right for this at the moment. And what we should do is complete the strategic alignment work that's very important and that we're doing, that should be informed by that draft arts strategy that is existing somewhere, but we haven't ever had the opportunity to consider or take to our community. And I just think we invest, over $500,000 in arts and culture. I don't think we aren't committed to arts and culture. I just think we need to have that strategy document shared with the community and adopted before we then. I just don't feel the need for this at this point in time, so I won't be supporting this, but it's not about me not supporting arts and culture. It's just the mechanics of it, or the timing of it just doesn't sit right with me, because we've got a lot of work already done in this space. Thank you.
Any further discussion? No, I'll just make my comments. This is something that means a lot to me personally. I agree with what Councillor Livingston and Councillor Nicholson have said. Arts were a very, very important part of our culture and our community. They're not insignificant. If you look across the road at Centenary Hall, I can't remember how many millions of dollars that cost to that refurbishment, but we didn't pay for it. The federal government paid for it. We were the regional centre of culture because of our focus on the arts and what we were doing in the arts. We've got some good people, but we've lost our way. Victor Harbour, Victoria McCurdy, CEO of Victor Harbour, she knows just how important and how valuable the arts are to a community. And Victor Harbour are leaping ahead where before they were trailing. And we've got to pick up ground. We used to make money out of art. We get commissions for what we sell. But there are businesses, look how many art galleries there are around the place. And they've established because we had a focus within this region on art, the beautiful region that we live in. So I feel that the reason the Arts Advisory Group that we had in the past, which Councillor Stewart was on, and who's a well-respected artist himself, they lost their way because they weren't listened to. They weren't being listened to with what they were suggesting we should be doing. And so they became frustrated and disillusioned. And so we need to just get and start listening. And 100% agree, empowering our volunteers is the answer, because we can do all of this. We've got a bunch of people out there in our community who are just itching to get involved, and they love to go to exhibitions. They love to sit there for a few hours in the afternoons and talk to people and help sell art. And we've got some great artists that live in our region. So I think the sooner we get the arts back on track, the better. Councillor Nicholson, do you want to speak?
Thank you, Worship, and I appreciate everybody's comments and contributions. I actually had no issue with the suggested motion that was proposed at the end of the administration report. I probably started speaking before I articulated which one I was moving. So I would make the assumption that, of course, the terms of reference would need to be organised as the committee is established, and I'm certainly not dictating any timeframes in the motion, so I'm happy for the timing to be worked through as the administration sees that to be appropriate. I think that the fact that the draft art strategy has stalled is a really good reason to think about an arts advisory group having a positive impact on sort of, bringing something like that back up and giving some input, suggesting to the chamber what needs to happen to get that moving forward. And it's certainly not my intention that an art advisory group would necessarily be sort of pressuring for more money to be allocated in the budget. For me, I think was certainly illuminated when we were talking about Customs House, and we were given the benefit of input from community members who talked about some brilliant ideas, and it's certainly outside of my area of expertise and knowledge, and I just appreciated and valued their contribution so much. So I hope that an arts advisory group is really positive and helpful for the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. I did check with Lachlan and Andrew during the discussion about that, and certainly the process that's involved in the other recommendation would have to be followed anyway. We'd have to have a terms of reference, we'd have to consult, so that would all take place as part of it. So that to you, all those in favour? Against? That is carried. So item 9 is administration reports, and 9.1 is the West Creek Road proposed road closure. We have recommendation group B. So,
Your Worship, I'd like to make my conflict of interest declaration, as I said before. Thank you.
So we'll do the recommendations separately, A and B. So recommendation group A. A question.
If I may, could anyone tell me if, well, I believe the word B double was used in relation to that report. Are any of those roads B double roads? And in fact, the one we're closing, or talking of closing, is that a B double road?
Through the Mayor, I'm going to take that one on notice, except that a general purpose vehicle, the way we're moving now, I'll have to come back to you on that one. But it doesn't stop any movement. So if the vehicle's not general purpose, then a permit can be issued for that vehicle, and it's very likely that anyone operating B doubles in the area has an annual permit to move their vehicles around in that space.
So I'll go back to the beginning because we haven't done anything yet. So, Tash, is there anything you need to change? And are there any, other than Councillor Scott's question, are there any questions for clarity? If not, so we'd look at recommendation group A. Is there somebody to move that? Councillor Nicholson. Do you wish to speak to it? Is Councillor Maidment, you're seconding it? Is there any discussion? A? Is there any, so yes, Councillor Scott.
I think it's possibly, this might be the best time to be having the discussion on that. So I've listened closely to the two deputations that have been made, and this is, I think, rather an unfortunate dilemma that when you're in council you're faced with. We've got two roads that are, and I've got an idea now of the direction that people tend to be travelling and why they're travelling there. We're being asked to keep open a road that is almost a duplicate and at considerable cost. And as I understand it, to proceed up Mosquito Creek Road further to go around that sharp corner and back is only a matter of under a minute to do that. And I'm still confused or struggling to work out why we have to keep two roads open. Only one thing that's come to mind is the sharp corner at the end of Mosquito Creek Road and McInerney Road, because it was noted that it was hard to get a B-double round that corner. And looking at the angle, I can picture it could be a bit of a challenge. It was also noted that there was some vegetation there, which apparently made it dangerous. I seek the advice of the manager of infrastructure as to whether that is the case or not, or whether it's just been mentioned tonight. And if it is a problem, then that should be cleared so that it is sufficiently safe. But to be quite honest, we've got a lot of armchair critics that are saying to us we shouldn't be spending money unnecessarily, and we should be careful. And now there's a request for two roads running, except that it's in a triangle, they're running almost parallel. I just struggle with that. It was 35,000 a couple of years ago to resurface it. Dare I say it'll be 40 plus now to do it. And we'll also have McInerney Road, which is an open road as well. So I'm struggling with it a bit. And in terms of the word of an ambulance, emergency response, we're talking less than a minute's difference to go that way. And if the ambulance came from Strathalbyn, which I suspect would be the nearest one, it won't even take that road anyhow, because it'll come down McInerney Road and turn into Mosquito Creek Road. It is, to me, a bureaucracy gone berserk from what I can read and the accompanying notes. It's not like we're going to close Cadell Street, so a lot of people are affected. We're talking a handful of people that have objected to this, a handful, who are quite capable of going down another 600 metres and turning around and going back on the other road. And yet, it appears that this is when the SCOs are in there, bless their hearts, and said, oh, we've got to be careful with money and everything. But if it goes to another government department, they'll say, oh, we've got to keep it open because someone's objected. And I'm afraid this is the sort of thing that we get landed with in local government, which I'm afraid I have little patience for. This is serious, we're talking about serious money, as I say, and the ongoing grading of it, and just because people won't just go down to the corner. And I suggest, if we do close it and we go to that corner, that we perhaps make sure that corner is wide for trucks to turn. And I'd also suggest that if the government, the relevant person in the government is not going to allow us to close that thing, they provide the 40,000 resheet, because there is absolutely no reason for us to be resheeting that road in the light of the other road being there. So where that leads us, I don't know. I don't want to put the staff through a 19-page report. To me, you could do it about 3 lines, I reckon, if they look at the map. But it is ridiculous that we're going to try and keep that road open. Thank you.
Just made it. Is there any councillor amendment? Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for that dissertation, Councillor Scott. I thought we would leave that till the recommendation group B to go down that path, but this is only recommending that we receive the report, and I think you might have exhausted your argument right already, and no need to come back with it next time.
Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put recommendation section A to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Now we go to recommendation group B. Is there a movement for that? So recommendation group B, a mover? No. So that recommendation. Things are off. That recommendation. Yeah, well, we only asked twice. You've asked 3 times. Andrew's eager. But
Sorry, Mayor Parks. I mean, someone can move whatever they like under group.
Yeah, well, I've not got that far.
Yeah, and you're asking someone to move that recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
Yeah, you're asking someone to move a recommendation.
No reason why, which I was going to get to after I'd asked for a mover several times, I was then going to come back to say, right, does somebody wish to move something different? So now we're at that stage where if somebody would like to move something different, they can. So would somebody like to move something different? Councillor Scott, you...
I resolved the oh, sorry. Left my glass. Doesn't help matters. I move that that road be closed, and I'm not sure that it needs to be necessarily sold off. It may be revegetated.
Just a moment.
Sorry.
I'm trying to help you, but you won't let me get a word in. Lachlan just pointing out in the report on page 19, there's a 4 dot points recommendation that would become the motion should you wish to should you wish to go ahead and close it. So if you would like to have a look at that, maybe that might save you a lot of time.
Through the Mayor, so just to clarify, the author of the report has put an alternative recommendation if council wish to close a road, and it's on page 19, which sets out a resolution that we would need if you wanted to close it, so we can follow the next steps through.
So it is. Another question, if I may. Do we necessarily need to sell the road, or can it just be closed as was suggested and perhaps revegetated and give stock shelter and...
So it's through the chair. So council can choose to, I guess, close off the road or close the road. The sale of the road is not something council necessarily needs to do if it closes the road.
I just think what happened with Lovell Road, they closed that off and revegetated it.
Stick on West Road. You've got the recommendation that was provided there before you. So is that you happy to be that what you're going to move?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So that's on the screen. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Coomans? Do you want to speak to it?
Is that the wording now?
Yep.
1, 2 and 3. Can we just have the complete one? Yes.
Yes, that's it, isn't it?
Goodness me.
In the agenda, it's on page 19, there are 4 dot points. We've got 3 up there at the moment. Just putting the 4th one up in a minute. what you have before you on the screen now, 1 to 4, is...
I'm assuming it includes sale and market valuation.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's
It's on dot point 2.
Because it doesn't actually say sale to the family, or does it?
So,
Does
Sorry.
it?
yep, through the mayor, I'll just get the property of manager of property to come up to answer that question.
So through the chair, apologies, it's hard to hear back there, so could you repeat the question?
So would the sale be done at independent market valuation, and does it need to come back to council again to sell it direct to the adjoining owners?
So through the chair, yes, it would be dealt with by either independent market valuation or putting the formula in place where we work out the square meterage of the adjoining property and calculate the meterage of this property. You could include a resolution to permit the market rental, the market valuation to be applied for the purpose of sale so that it wouldn't need to come back to the chambers. Make sense?
I'd be happy to include that if the mover is.
Well, it says there that we're asking the proponents to enter into an agreement to transfer the portion of the land with the transfer value to be determined by an independent market valuation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we can, if we were going to sell it, that's all we can do, isn't it?
Through the mayor, that would be enough for us to sell it without coming back to the chambers.
Thank you.
Councillor Nicholson.
A question. Is it possible to redo the public consultation on the matter, just to, I suppose it was not necessarily an issue that pricked up a lot of people's attention, but maybe after this process more people might be thinking about the sort of overall impact that it might have on council's infrastructure management. So just, yeah, is it possible to redo it, or is that not advised?
So through the chair, it is possible. That would be the third time we've consulted on this portion of road. There's also the option that me and the General Manager of Infrastructure are talking about the difference between types of road closures. So we haven't really explored that as part of this council report. So perhaps there might be opportunity to explore other options for that road as well.
So Scott, you have a question?
I have a question in wondering whether we can perhaps vary it, instead of requiring them to enter an agreement, to explore options for the manner in which the road would be closed, where it might be a more workable option. And then if they want to buy it or whatever, or if we want to just close it and revegetate or whatever, it's the options there, whereas that is very prescriptive. Number 2 is prescriptive. So I'm happy to put forward that variation if you'll accept it and the seconder will accept it.
Well, we need the wording. We need the wording.
We'll explore options for methods, and our properties officer might be able to help, but for the options for the type of road closure that that the council enters into, which may include pure closure or closure and sale. But is that sufficient or not? Explore options for the type of road closure, which may include closure only or closure and sale. That's probably the nub of what I'm talking about. And that makes it more open for more options all round.
Through the chair, if I may, I think consideration would need to be given to part one of that motion, if that was varied. Because part one is about endorse the road process order proceeding to the Surveyor General for decision.
Question then, what are you seeking there?
Through the chair and step in, anybody, if I've got this wrong, but if the variations to explore options for the type of road closure, which may include closure only or closure and sale, to proceed as part of a resolution of part one would be before the exploration potentially has actually been done, is what I'm saying. So do you need part one?
Can we just change and make number 1, number 4, or number 3? Yeah.
Lisa, do you have a comment?
Yes. So through the chair, there's a number of ways you can close a road. You can close a road under the Roads and Opening Closing Act, which is what this original recommendation is for, and it has to be very, very specifically worded to progress. There are other options to close a road where it still remains a road, but it's closed from vehicle traffic. You would do that in a case where you wanted to revegetate the road. So if we were going to be closing this road for the purpose of closing it as a road, we need to use the recommendations that were originally put, or they need to all come out and we do a recommendation that council explore options for the type of road closure, which may include closure only or closure and sale, and bring a further report back to council.
Let's just get to what we're doing before we start asking questions about it. Sorry. So that's Lachlan's advice on that. Councillor Scott, you happy with that? Yes or no?
Yes, that'll do. Thank you.
And Councillor Coombs, you're happy with it? Okay.
Do we need to leave at the meeting to vary?
Yes, you do.
Yep. So we want a vote or just leave at the meeting?
You need to leave the
So we just need to leave at the meeting to vary that. So everybody in favour of the variation? Right. So, Councillor Livingston, do you have a question?
I was actually going to move a formal motion.
Well, you can still do it.
Yep.
I mean,
I suggest moving a formal motion that this question be adjourned. Reason being is that I think there is a lot of lack of clarity here around the process, the costs, the options, and we are essentially making a final decision when there is a lot of lack thereof in this.
Yeah, so the intent of what's there is that, but if we just need a time, if you want...
Next meeting.
We need a time for adjournment, to bring it back, next meeting. So that's the formal motion. Is there a seconder for the formal motion? Seconder? No, so the formal motion will lapse. So we go back to the resolution that's before you. So does anybody else wish to speak about that? Councillor Nicholson?
Thank you. I'm comfortable supporting this motion because I suppose it's my interpretation that we're not necessarily making a decision. We're exploring options for the type of closure and seeking further information to come back to us, which I think would be perhaps more beneficial for us in making a decision on this matter than adjourning it. I think yeah, as Councillor Scott said, it's a tricky decision because we've got a practical suggestion to close a road that doesn't necessarily save a lot of time, but we do have passionate members of the community who use that road, so it's a difficult one. I think having a bit more information will help me. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councillor Kerman?
Look, we haven't included a time limit on this thing, so is it possible to include a time as well, maybe the next meeting, if that's possible?
So through the Chair, we will need to get the information together in the next 10 days to meet the September Council meeting. So to be able to give you a full report, it would be, I guess, more advantageous for us to be able to bring that back to the October report rather than the September.
Could we include October?
Yeah, that's okay. That also gives you time if you wish to have a bit of briefing on it. So is there any further discussion on it? Is that Councillor Scott, do you wish to use your right of reply?
No, thank you. I'm happy with what's...
So I will put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? Anybody against? That's carried unanimously. (9.2) is the Regional Development Australia new lease request. There's a recommendation there before you. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Nicholson. Oh, is there a seconder? Councillor Coomans and Livingston, can we please stay with the meeting? Councillor Maidment. Is there any discussion relating to this? It's just renewal of a lease on a beautiful building. Councillor Miller.
Sorry, Your Worship, I think I might just, as a degree of caution, excuse myself again. If this gets lost, there may be an impact for my employer as a party to the RDA agreement. So I beg your pardon. I apologise. I'd like to leave. Thank you.
So the recommendation moved by Councillor Nicholson, seconded by Councillor Maidment. Is there any discussion? No. So I will put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously.
Just a reminder about any updates.
So 9.3 is Council Strategic Partnerships. Stacey, are there any changes to this?
Just a point of clarification, if I can, please, just based on what Councillor Miller was asking before. So I've just found out some extra information, and I apologise, I probably didn't make it clear enough in the report to do with Scots on this one. So the Department of Human Services have increased the boundary to include all of Yankalilla. So that's what's in the report. However, I neglected to put in that Yankalilla have declined in this new contract. So apologies for that. Hopefully that clears that up. And you also made mention that it says that it's been executed. Sorry if it was a bit confusing, but what that's relating to is the current contract, not the new one in the new boundary realignment. So just wanted to clear that up. And I'd also just like to advise that an alternate form of recommendation is proposed to enable a member with potential conflicts in relation to some of the partnerships to participate, and I believe there's some wording that Tanya has.
So are there any questions for clarification? Sorry, Stacey.
Did you want me to just explain? Yeah. Sorry, just as Councillor Miller at the start of the meeting declared a conflict here, so instead of it just being one big list, we have split it apart to allow Councillor Miller to participate in some of the debate, and then she can declare her conflict for those three that she declared earlier. Thank you.
So Group A, there was no conflict. Councillor Livingston, you wish to move that? And is there a seconder? Councillor Nicholson. And any questions or discussion? Councillor Miller.
I just have a question, Your Worship, as to what facilitate means. Are we resolving or delegating the authority to the CEO to just execute these agreements as they come up? Because I understand to put the seal on, if anything that needs a seal, needs a resolution of council. So I'm just double checking when the actual execution of these agreements comes, this is going to cover that, so we won't get to see any of the agreements or what, if there's any changes, or because I'm particularly interested in that South Coast Community Transport Service, what that looks like. So I just want to understand what the word facilitate means, or if we're delegating the authority to the CEO to execute agreements on behalf of, like for all these strategic partnerships. It's not a deal breaker, but I want to understand what I'm voting on here and what facilitate means. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, so yes, facilitate, the intent of saying facilitate does mean that when these partnerships come up for renewal, that it would be discussed with the relevant executive and potentially even discussed at the executive table, and then enabling the CEO to sign and execute those agreements. It is a good pickup, though, that if there is one of the agreements that needs a seal, that would have to come to council, yes, as part of the process. But anything where it's purely a contract that's, witnessed and signed between the two parties or potentially several councils and that organisation, the intent is that is just discussed internally and delegation given to the CEO. And because we did also note that there needs to be approved budget, and as it stands at the moment, everything that we're discussing in this report is actually covered in the recurrent ongoing operating budget.
So is there any further discussion on Group A? If not, I will put the recommendation. All that in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. So we go to Group B.
Thank you.
Right, so we're talking now about Group B. So is there a mover? Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Coomans. Is there any discussion related to Group B? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll get Councillor Miller back. So 9.4 is Grants and Contributions Program, the end of year report. Recommendation there that we receive a note that. Moved, Councillor Scott. Seconder, Councillor, you seconding Councillor Miller? No. So is there any discussion? Councillor, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to say I love this report. I think it's a great communication piece for our community, summarises it all in one place, and it's a really good report. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So 9.5 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. It's the Chief Executive Officer's report for July 2025. There's a recommendation that be received and noted. Sorry, first, Andrew, is anything you wish to add to your report? I'm doing a bit backwards, but it's all right.
Nothing further.
No. Are there any questions for clarity? It's very clear, it's a report. You can ask questions of the report, but we haven't got there yet. So is there a mover that we are going to do it? Councillor Coomans.
And can I compliment the CEO, because there's a little bit extra information in the report that gives us a bit more guidance in terms of what's happening.
So do we have a seconder? Councillor Scott. And do we have any questions or discussion? Councillor Scott.
Yes, just on the 11th of July, I attend an online drought response update meeting hosted by local government. Could we perhaps have a little bit of an outline of what happened with that, please?
Through the chair, to be quite honest, I can't recall much of that meeting, so it must have been quite exciting. But I think it was, I think it hinged around the supply of potable water. I think may have been part of this one, and that relates to people running out of water in their tanks, etc.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, the recommendation, all those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.6 is the council resolution register. The recommendation that that be received and noted. Move Councillor Maidment. Seconded. Councillor Livingston. Any discussion, questions relating to that? Councillor Miller.
I just have one question, Your Worship, about the Goolwa Oval Management Agreement. I'm sorry to keep asking about it. I just wondered if we've got any closer date to seeing those arrangements. I mean, footy season's about to end. We're heading into the cricket season. I just wanted to get if there's any indication. We've dealt with the tennis club and the netball club and... Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not much more other than the comment that we put in the update. But the president of the Goolwa Recreation Grounds Management Committee is working very hard with the 4 remaining clubs. There is an approach that they would like to take, but I don't think I can share that here at the moment because I haven't been part of the discussions myself. However, we do have a draft lease hopefully going to them next week because we did have the draft lease ready to go, but then when the tennis and netball split out, we've had to redraft it. So we're hoping to have that to them this week for review, and then I'll hopefully be involved in the negotiations directly.
So is there any further discussion? Councillor Maidment, you'll close the discussion if you do. But you can speak. Go on. Yep, we can. Yep, that's fine.
Could the Mayor, for the record, update us on the Langhorne Discovery Trail grant funding?
Well, we've been advised by the Federal Minister that we were successful in getting 7,060,000 for that trail, and we now have received a letter from the Minister confirming that and advising us they will be sending us the contract. It will be also through the South Australian government, so we'll be going through them. They'll just send the money to South Australia, and South Australia will pay us as we need it. And so once that agreement's been signed by the government, federal government and ourselves, so that will go through our lawyers, then the money will be available, and there's a completion date of the end of 2027 as part of the terms. So it's it's full speed ahead as fast as we can go. Alan's team are all got head around it. They know all about it. Just got to go through the process. And Stacey, that's your team too, isn't it? Well, Alan's got to build it. You've got to run it. Yeah. But it's fantastic outcome. The biggest thing, as I said, the biggest single grant the council's ever received, and we were the only council in South Australia to receive a grant in that tranche. So it was. I know Victor Harbour, I got told Victor Harbour are extremely annoyed that we got it. So is any other discussion relating to that? If not, I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. And must say we have complimented Stacey, Sarah and the team that have put that together because they did an amazing job. And and of course the team from Langhorne Creek. So it's a collaborative effort. So it wasn't just one side. We worked for years with the wineries and the community group down there, and our staff, and we've done several attempts at getting it. Well, just well done. So item 10 is committee reports. 10.1 is a report from the Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Advisory Committee, a review of the master plan actions. There's a new order, isn't there, on this? Lachlan? Yeah. Can you, sorry, I should ask Alan. Alan, I should ask you, are there any updates and change to this?
Yeah, through the Mayor. Would you mind scrolling down for me, please? Okay, so to provide an update on this, when the CEO and I talked about this, we agreed that that there should be further consideration around this, and no assumptions made here. But as you can see there, there's been an addition of the Port Elliot Caravan Park to the list of stakeholders that would be engaged in this process. In part, that talks to the need that some people have to ensure that that occurs. So that's why that has been contained in that item. Otherwise, it is read.
This is where the trouble is, a mess. So we've got to do Group A first. This wasn't easy. It was a nice tidy agenda when it was printed. So we do Group A, which is dot point 1 and 2 of that. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Scott. And a seconder? Councillor Nicholson. Any discussion relating to Group A 1 and 2? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I just have some comments that I'd like to make in receiving and noting these and noting them. And all of the actions that are proposed by the committee to be removed relate to public or visitor access or engagement. The master plan in 2017 underwent extensive consultation with the community and importantly achieved balancing environmental conservation objectives with public access and amenity provision. The committee wanting to remove these actions proposed, that what they're proposing places a much higher priority on conservation at the cost of public access and amenity. The same applies to the actions proposed to change from medium, and medium was meant to be 2 to 10 years, to low, which puts it at 10 to 20 years. They weren't started in the past 9 years or 8 years. It's unlikely they'll be given any priority in the next 10 or 20 years. So over the 5 or 8 years actually since the master plan was adopted, not much has happened in the space of public amenity and public access. And I'm not saying this as a criticism, it's an observation of a master plan that had a vision. And the vision is very clearly stated in that plan and the community's vision for Ratalang. So this is not dismissing or questioning the committee's passion, skill, expertise, anything like that. And it's certainly not a swipe at conservation because it's very important. But this is public land that had a master plan that was trying to achieve balance. The other comment I will make about the review is that this was proposed in March 2024. Administration took a review back to the committee in May 2024. Now that's over a year ago and we have just received the review of the action plan. So that's 17 months since the review commenced. And I find that a little bit troubling that it took so long to get this information to council. And I'm just going to read the vision from the Conservation Reserve Master Plan. The RBB Conservation Reserve provides a rich and diverse educational, environmental and cultural resource for the local community and visitors to the region. It will be managed and maintained in collaboration with the Narrandjeri to protect its key assets while catering for increased visitor usage. And I won't read out all of the guiding principles in the master plan, but removing the actions that are proposed to be removed, in my view, offend many of those guiding principles, and you can find them on page 10 of the master plan. There has been no measurement of performance against these. How can actions that were rated and adopted by the community to be medium priorities after 7 years have not had anything progressed on them? Further, 3 or 4 actions have having their rating changed from medium, which means it should have been started 5 years ago anyway, to low. And they also relate to community access and that community focus or European history. That is, 9 of the 10 actions haven't been started at all, and if they have, there's been very little progress after 7 years. So in the 3 years I've been on council, the low priority changed to the highest priority of all and been given the most focus. And I actually don't have a problem with the native grasslands project. I do have an issue with how it was achieved, and it was a significant change, and it didn't have any consultation. It changed the landscape and the use of the land, and it didn't go to the community. So I guess the question for me is, why weren't any of those actions commenced up to 7 years when they were ranked medium by the community? And I guess it's a rhetorical question because it's clear in the report that the committee did not see those as a priority and they didn't relate to conservation. And that's fine for the small number of members on the committee to have that view, but it was an adopted master plan that underwent significant community consultation, it's community land, and to have those priorities completely ignored, because I can only go on what's in the...
That's 5, you've gone over 5 minutes.
I'll wrap it up, Your Worship.
Quickly.
Yes, I just don't understand how those actions could not have been started after 7 years, and that's my issue, and I'll speak at the next item, but thank you, I note it.
Further discussion on Group A? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. We now go to Group B, which is the one which Alan explained about previously. There's a mover for that. You wish to move that?
I'll move it, Your Worship, but I just want to come down, and I'd like to speak again on this in moving it. I'd like to come down to point 3, and that's about, I'm delighted to see this amendment or change to the wording that was printed. What my concern now is the timing of when this further report will come. And I'm only asking that because if there's consultation going back to the committee, they don't meet again until November. And it's not in this recommendation or this, but it is in the body of the report. It discusses taking this draft engagement plan back to the committee. That won't happen in November. It won't come to council till December. We won't do consultation over January, I would hope, or December, January. So there'll be no consultation with the community until at least February, go to the committee's meeting in March, come to council in April. So, that's 8 months away, and I just would like to... I'm delighted that there's going to be consultation. I think that's absolutely critical. We must do consultation. I don't understand why. I feel for the committee. I think they should. I'll leave it at this. That I won't change anything. I would love to see a report come back to council. I just don't know when the report's coming back to council. But if it's going to wait until the November committee meeting, before we see a draft community engagement plan? If someone can answer that question for me, then I'll feel a little bit more comfortable with this, please.
Yep, through the Mayor. Councillor Miller, would you restate the question for me, please?
My question is, in the report, it talks about taking a draft community management plan back to the committee that doesn't meet until November, and then it will come to council. That's what the body of the report discusses. So my question is that correct? If we adopt this, that's the timing that we're looking at, not seeing a draft community engagement plan until December?
Yes, that would, sorry, through the Mayor, that would be correct. The reason for taking it back to the committee is because they are the engaged party. They are the group of community members who have put their hand up and are engaged with the management of that particular piece of land, being Ratalang, Basham Beach, and of course broader than that through the trust fund. So the intent was to keep them engaged in the process and take this back to them so we could talk about it and ensure that we did cover all stakeholders, that we weren't leaving anyone out, that they could provide that input into the community engagement plan, and then we could bring it back knowing that we as the administration and they as the committee had been through it and were comfortable with all those people that needed to be engaged with and that they were present in there. So that was the reason for taking it back to them. So yeah, from a timing perspective, you are correct.
So, do we have a seconder? Councillor Nicholson? Speaking, yeah.
Thank you very much. I attended the workshop held on the 17th of July to review the master plan, and I'm very comfortable with the recommendations that came out of the meeting to council tonight. I also acknowledge Councillor Miller's, I suppose, question around the initial attitude or feel of the master plan versus these recommendations, because I actually did ask a similar question at the workshop. And it's my understanding that the initial master plan was focused on more of an activation of the conservation reserve. So a number of projects were really around what sort of projects can we invest in to really activate that space. Whereas the current approach is very much, I suppose, focused on conservation. And I think that's to do with obviously the importance of the environment. The whole committee is very much guided by the master plan. But I suppose like all of our strategies and master plans at council, there are many recommendations that we've got that we're not able to carry out because we do have to prioritise our resources, and the committee works really hard on reflecting the priorities and attitudes in the community. So it is really important that these changes are consulted on, and we will do that. I'd be really interested to see what the community think and to have the community engage in the master plan and come back to us with what they think that's a really important part of managing this land as a community asset. Thank you.
So is any further discussion? Do you wish your right of reply?
I just have a question. In this next 8 months, or however long it's going to be, will any of the medium existing actions be progressed that haven't started, or everything's just on hold now on the assumption that they're going to be taken out? Because I ask that question because it certainly can't be a resourcing issue, because there's $500,000 in the trust account. Why can't they do signage at the Port Elliot Victor Harbour end? Why can't, what is so offensive about those actions that they need to be removed? I just am failing to understand that, and then I'll speak a little bit more to close.
So, through the Mayor, I can't talk to the previous actions of that committee. I've sat with them for the last year and a half and have spent that time working with them to improve the way in which they function, improve the way in which they look at their function and what they do. They have made significant steps in terms of now looking at what they need to do in that space rather than focusing on quite operational matters. So this is a step in getting them back into the mindset of looking at the master plan and starting to look through those actions, decide what bit they want to do or what we would work with them on want to do next. So as I said, I'm not going to talk to what they did before and how they're operating. I only talk to the bit that I've been a part of, and this is a combination of work that we've been through in order to get us to a point where we're now all talking, including 2 new community members, about what actions we now take from the master plan and move forward. I will just say this, that within this report, or within the body of the report that went to the committee, we reviewed every single action, and a lot of them have been done. So a lot of work has been achieved over the course of the period of the master plan, but there are still things that need to be done, and that is what the committee has turned its mind to through this, and this is now what we will focus on.
I'll just close the debate if I can, Your Worship. I just wanted to pick up on the comment that the committee is reflecting what the community is asking. It's just, that may be all well and good, but it's not transparent how they're gathering that reflection of what the community is thinking. I do congratulate the administration on the work that's been done, and the committee as well, and I'm certainly not questioning their expertise or the value of their volunteering and the contribution that they make. I think we need to include the public, be a bit more inclusive, and I think this motion is a really great step towards that. And I look forward to, I guess if it's not until January that we engage with the community, so be it, but I just think we have to engage with the community because it is such a jewel in our community, and they deserve to have some kind of input into a review of a master plan that has actually been quite successful, apart from the signage and those elements that haven't been progressed. So I hope that it's not seen as a negative what my comments were, but there really does, this community engagement piece is vital, and I'm very appreciative of it being included in there. Thank you.
That ends the discussion. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. 10.2 is a report from the Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Advisory Committee regarding the Native Grasslands Implementation Project, and there's a recommendation there before you. You wish to move that?
I do, Your Worship, but I did propose some other wording for the last bit, point 4. And I do think we need to have an element of community engagement on this point as well. I'm happy with 1, 2 and 3, but I'm not comfortable endorsing a name for the reserve that hasn't been consulted with the community, and that doesn't, I think I'd like to invite the community to name this piece of the reserve. And in addition to what the committee was suggesting, Ratalang Native Grassland Reserve, I'd like to test with the community the option of Pleasant Banks Native Grassland Reserve, because it surrounds what everyone knows as Pleasant Banks. And if you said, meet me at the Pleasant Banks Native Grassland Reserve, they'd instantly know that you are at that end of the reserve. So I'm asking that public consultation occur on the naming of the grassland restoration site. I have no issue with it being named. I have no issue with it being called Ratalang Native Grassland Reserve, but I do find we should be asking the community. And that's why I would like to move this change. Thank you.
So, do we have a seconder, Councillor Livingston? Any discussion? Anybody? Councillor Scott.
In all this discussion, I just want to point out to the chamber that there is considerable community representation on that committee. It's not just council and staff. There is a broad range of fairly knowledgeable people on that committee that are representing the community of Port Elliot and Middleton. And so, I think it can go on and on and on consulting with people. When you've got representatives on the thing, like we represent the community here in this chamber, it's the same principle. And it's not as if we were looking at renaming, scrapping Ratalang Basham Beach Reserve and calling it, the Moonwalkers Reserve or something like that. It is only an area within a reserve, and it's Ratalang. So that's the logic behind it. And the community representatives, I think, were pretty happy with it. I think it was a unanimous decision. So it hasn't been done without some consultation within the community, albeit they're the representatives of the community.
Is there any further discussion? If you wish to have a right of reply.
Thank you, Worship. Just very quickly, I just want to stress again, I'm not questioning the expertise or the knowledge or the community passion, anything like that. I'm just questioning why name it at all if we're going to go to the process of naming it, I think we invite suggestions from the community. I'm also wanting to acknowledge that this piece of land that is the native grassland site has a very strong connection to Pleasant Banks. The European heritage of Ratalang dates back to the 1850s and it's closely associated with Pleasant Banks. So I think we just need to have a bit of open-mindedness about, if you're going to name it, let's do it properly, consider all the options, and if it ends up being called the Ratalang Native Grassland Reserve, so be it. But I just think we have to turn our minds to transparency and objectivity about this. Thank you.
Close the discussion. I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Do we have to? We've got a little bit more to go. Lachlan suggests you may want to have a little 5-minute break. It's up to you. So, you want to keep going? Keep going. Right. Okay. So, it's up to you whether it takes all night or not long. 10.3 is a report from Ratalang, Basham Beach and Horseshoe Bay Advisory Committee of opportunities to increase council's maintenance resources and community involvement. Alan, I should have asked you the others. Anything to add to this report? No. Are there any questions for clarity? If not, so the recommendation there with 3 points, is there a mover for that? Move Councillor Livingston. Second, Councillor Nicholson. Your speak. Yeah.
Thank you, Worship. I think these initiatives will be really informative and welcome for the ongoing management of the reserve, which is a really big project and a lot of work. And we do have many people in our communities who are really interested in being involved and already are involved in a number of ways. So I think this is such a valuable initiative. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
I love everything about this report. I love that it's looking at exploring great community involvement, leveraging volunteers, acknowledging them. I think it's wonderful, and I commend the committee for, or whoever came up with this. If it was the committee, I think it's a really, really great approach, and I'm very happy to support this.
Any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 10.4 is a report from the Cemeteries Advisory Committee. It's a Section 41 committee and an advisory group structure. Tash, is there anything to change on or add to this report? No. Are there any questions for clarity on this report? Councillor Livingston.
Yes, I've got a question. Just in the second paragraph of the background, and it might be a question for the CEO, because we have discussed this, there's a point in that it says some of the key differences in the structures is that the advisory groups do not report or provide advice directly to the council and instead do this through the executive officer. So I just wanted to make sure that that was correct, as I understood that advisory groups could also report to council.
Through the chair, I guess there's certainly a couple of views as to how that might work, and I think both views are probably correct. But for me, an advisory group would provide advice to the administration or the executive officer running that advisory group. The advice from that group, I would expect, would be contained in the officer's report, so that council members have transparency as to that view of that advisory group. And then administration, as we do Section 41s, it's no different, put a recommendation to council. So whether it's a Section 41 or whether it's an advisory group, my expectation would be that the advice from the advisory group or the decision from a Section 41, which is their recommendation, would be contained in the officer's report, and then the officer puts a recommendation to council. So in my view, whether it's a Section 41 or whether it's an advisory group, my expectation is that council members would see in a transparent manner the position or the advice of the Section 41 or the advisory group. Sorry? Invite? And the minutes of an advisory group or a Section 41 are provided to council as part of its report. Sorry, agenda.
Yeah. So we have a recommendation there. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Miller. Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11 is council members' reports. 11.1 is presiding members' report for July 2025. There's a recommendation there that it be received. Move Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Kermans. Any questions or discussion relating to that report? If not, I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11.2 is council member activity report. Councillor Gardner's report for July 2025. There's a recommendation that report be received. Move Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Miller. We can't ask Councillor Gardner any questions about her report, so I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11.3 is council member activity report, verbal updates. Are there any verbal updates? This is council and member activity. Yep. Councillor Scott.
I just wanted to report that Councillor Livingston and I have been to a couple of Murray-Darling meetings lately. One was the conference at Murray Bridge, which was run by the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, and which was attended by about 300 people. and the first one being held in South Australia, the others in the past have been held in eastern states. And we've also went to the Murray-Darling Association, which is the local government body, of which we're both delegates, on Friday, and discussed motions for the conference coming up in Griffiths in September. There were 3 motions that we came up with. I'll leave Councillor Livingston to talk about 2 of them, but the third one was in relation to the structural relationship between the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, which manages the plan, and the Murray-Darling Association. And currently, the chairman of the Murray-Darling Association does not sit on the board of the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. And I think that is a yawning gap, and I have for quite a long time thought it was a real oversight. And so I decided to move a motion to have the chairman of the Murray-Darling Association ex officio on the board of the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. It seemed absolutely ludicrous that the board of the Basin Authority would not have any representation officially from the governing bodies of the whole basin, the people of the organisation that manage, you might say, the communities within the basin. So that is that's what I want to report. Thank you.
Councillor Livingston, turn your microphone off, please.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. Just further to Councillor Scott's notes about that, and we also attended the forum on the algal bloom and the River, Lower Lakes and Coorong Action Group AGM. Councillor Nicholson and Miller were also present there that day. Firstly, I just wanted to formally acknowledge the work that they're doing in the community. It's crazy how much work that they do on such a little budget. The engagement with their volunteers is really applaudable. That's all I can say on that. Then, in relation to the River Reflections Conference, the key points that I got out of it was that the health of the environment in the basin is doing well, except for the native fish population, which is not doing well at all. One of the reasons for that is the amount of carp that we have in our river system, which is not great. We heard that it's around 200,000 tonnes of biomass on an average year. In a wet year, it can be up to, 800,000. So that's quite significant. And then I also wanted to turn to that point, and it was in the report about the grants and the work that Rotary are doing, hopefully in holding what is a carpathon. At Lake Bonnie, the local football club, I understand, held similar and removed 4 tonnes of carp from the system that day. And I just think if the community has that much involvement along the river system, we can really make a dent in the numbers and improve the health of our basin. Very quickly going on to the conference that we've got next month in Griffiths, the other motions that we were talking about was around the advocacy to the state government through the Murray-Darling Basin Authority in relation to the demand of population growth, housing, etc. in our area across Region 6, but also the state more widely because of the demand on extraction of the river as the population grows. So that was another point that we'll be going to the national conference on. Thank you.
Anybody else got any updates, Councillor Maidment?
Yes, so last Thursday I was a guest of Regional Development Australia at a forum conducted at Ockendorrick House run by Main Street SA. There was a raft of very interesting speakers around, one from the South Australian Tourism Commission. The use of AI in councils was delivered by Dale Dreschler, I think I've got that right, City of West Torrens, excuse me. It was all about other speakers concerning revitalisation of Main Street. The CEO of Kimber and her team were there saying how that they'd turned Kimber around and revitalised the business sector there. And I know that this council has done a great job at Strath with the revitalisation program up there. So I think we're ahead of the game in terms of Main Street. We have lots of Main Streets, so we've probably got a lot more work to do in the future. The other thing, I want to thank the staff that attended the town hall at Strathalbyn over the weekend. It was a great initiative to take and for them to take time out. The only one comment I had was the walls are blank, and there's probably some artwork you could probably put around the walls at some stage in the future, and I'll talk to the GM Wellbeing about who said what and why and how.
Any further updates, any information? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor Parkes. I attended a special event this month over at Victor Cinema called Breakfast and Belonging, which screened a movie called Just a Farmer. It was a really confronting movie about a young family farming and the pressures and stress that families experience. In fact, anybody experiences in that industry. They had approximately 160 people attend. Engagement was terrific. There was a panel at the end. It was run by Healthy Soils Australia and Rain Ready Landscapes. Some passionate locals involved. I recommend looking up the movie Just a Farmer. It was really great, and I think, you know, I chatted to residents of Alexandrina, a young family who bought some land in 2019 and have turned from a very city-centric life to becoming farmers, and they're teaching themselves with some local mentors. And the young mum explained earlier this year she was at a playgroup, I think she was in Port Elliot, and somebody else walking out of the playgroup said, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to my weekend, but I hope it doesn't rain." And the pressure that her family was under at that time with young kids and just praying for rain, she said that really rattled her. So I think it's really important that we are acknowledging the farmers in our region, the pressures that they are under, and the highs and lows that they endure to bring us food security and economic stability. Thank you.
Are there any more? No. So the recommendation that we note those reports. Mover, Councillor Maidment. Seconder, Councillor Livingston. I'll put it to you, all those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We now move to item 12, which is confidential items.
South Coast Television, your community, your voice.